Once upon a time, in a world made of ice and snow, there lived a little snowflake named Shimmer. Shimmer was no ordinary snowflake. She was the most beautiful snowflake in her whole region, or at least she thought so. But Shimmer never joined in the fun. Oh no! She would stand off to the side and watch the others, pouting because she didn't feel like just another snowflake. She had big dreams, dreams of being the biggest and brightest star in the sky. You see? Shimmer wanted to be a star. She would look up at the stars in the sky and dream of the day when she would shine just as brightly. Every day, Shimmer would dance around in the sky with her friends, the wind, and they would twirl and swirl until they were dizzy. One day, while Shimmer was practicing her twirls, she heard a voice that said, "Hey, little snowflake, why don't you join us?" Shimmer stopped and looked around. "Who said that?" she asked. "Stars don't need water. They just shine." Just last week, I saw a little boy making a wish on a falling star. She had never thought of herself as a bringer of wishes. In fact, she had never thought of herself as anything more than a snowflake. And his wish was to have a brand new pair of snowshoes so he could play in the snow. "Very well, Shimmer. If you still want to be a star after all this, then I will help you." And guess what? His wish came true. You brought him the snow he needed to make his snowshoes. Shimmer. Finally, someone who understood what it was like to want to be something more. "I wish I could be a star instead of a snowflake," Shimmer said. Shimmer looked down and saw Emma's worried face looking up at the storm. And Emma gasped, "You can't be a star. You're a snowflake, and that's not possible." And as the last snowflake landed on her outstretched hand, she looked down at it and gasped. It wasn't just any snowflake, it was Shimmer. "Of course I will, dear Shimmer. That's what friends are for," Sparkle said with a wink. "I knew you could do it," she whispered. "You really are the most beautiful snowflake in the whole world." She took off her jacket and tied it to a tree. And every once in a while, she would stop and look up at the stars and remember the day she learned that being different was bad. In fact, it was pretty awesome. He had a heart as big as a house and a dream as big as the sky. She liked being a snowflake. She liked bringing joy to people by making snowmen and snow forts and having snowball fights. She even liked making hot cocoa and yummy treats. He had just slid down the biggest hill in the whole land and nothing happened. "You just need to look for the magic in everyday things," Pip asked. "Well, for starters, you can slide down that big hill over there and wipe out in a giant snowdrift," the wise old owl suggested. "No wipeouts, no belly flops, no adventures. Why does everyone else get to have fun?" Pip asked himself. "I'm tired of being an ordinary penguin." Also, don't forget to stay tuned for our next video. He wiggled his flippers in the air and laughed. "That is fun," he exclaimed. "Being an ordinary penguin isn't so bad after all." And most of all, she liked making wishes come true. Then she climbed up on top of the tree and reached out her arms to the sky. Being a snowflake was an honor, and she was the most beautiful snowflake in the whole world. Then Sparkle turned to Shimmer and said, "Now close your eyes and make a wish." Shimmer closed her eyes tight and wished, with all her might, to be a star. She was just a tiny snowflake in a big, scary world, and she didn't know what to do. "It's me," the voice replied, and Shimmer saw a little girl standing below her. He would slide down snow-covered hills, dive into the freezing cold water in search of fish, and waddle back home again. But Pip never found the adventure he was looking for. "I wish I wasn't an ordinary penguin," Pip replied. "I wish I was a magical penguin. We can make children laugh and smile when we build snowmen and snow forts and have snowball fights. We can also make hot cocoa and yummy treats." All around her, other snowflakes were swirling and twirling in the wind, and she realized that she was no longer Sparkle. She was a tiny snowflake once again, smaller than she had ever been before. And just then, the wisest snowflake in the whole sky drifted over to them. "But you must also learn to appreciate the beauty of the present moment. I want to be a star." Sparkle sighed. She knew how hard it could be to accept yourself when you're different from everyone else. Her name was Sparkle, and she had been watching Shimmer for a long time. "I'm Emma," the girl said. "And I wish I could fly like you." Shimmer smiled. "But I'm not happy being a snowflake," Shimmer cried. "I want to be a star." "Shimmer, my dear," Sparkle began, "you are a beautiful snowflake, and it is good to have big dreams." "But I don't want to be a snowflake anymore," Shimmer interrupted. Shimmer, being a snowflake is an honor. We are the only ones who can bring joy and wonder to the world in the winter, Sparkle said. But those things need water, not snowflakes, Shimmer said. Ah, but, Shimmer, that's not all you do. You bring joy to children. You make their wishes come true, Sparkle said. Shimmer thought about this for a moment. But I still want to be a star, Shimmer whispered. Sparkle nodded understandingly. Really? You will help me become a star, Shimmer asked, her eyes shining with excitement. And so the two snowflakes flew up to the sky together, higher and higher, until they were almost out of sight. When she opened her eyes, she found herself floating in the middle of a giant snowstorm. Shimmer felt a surge of panic. She tried to call out to Sparkle, but her voice was lost in the roar of the storm. Then suddenly, she heard a familiar voice calling her name. Shimmer, where are you? It was Emma. Emma, help me! Shimmer cried. And with that, the little girl did something amazing. As Emma reached up, the wind seemed to calm and the snow began to slow. Oh, Shimmer, Emma cried. And she hugged the snowflake close. And as Emma held Shimmer close, she realized that she didn't want to be a star anymore. She looked up at the sky and saw Sparkle watching her with a kind smile on her face. And Shimmer knew that Sparkle was right. From that day on, Shimmer spent her days dancing around in the sky with her friends, the wind, and they would twirl and swirl until they were dizzy. And that's the end of the story. The end. Once upon a time, in a magical land filled with talking animals and fairies, there lived a little penguin named Pip. Pip was no ordinary penguin. Every day, Pip would waddle around his icy home looking for adventure. One day, Pip was feeling extra blue. Just then, a wise old owl flew down from a nearby tree. What's wrong, Pip? She asked. The wise old owl hooted softly. Being an ordinary penguin is not bad, Pip. But how can there be magic in being ordinary? And with that, Pip did just that. He slid down the hill, smacked right into the snow, and landed in a giant snowdrift. And that's the end of the story. The end. If you enjoyed these videos, please subscribe and give it a big thumbs up.